Okay, I'm going to teach you how to make the juice, okay? So I have cabbage, I have water, I'm using the tap water, and I have the salt. And I also have jars. And let me see, I need to bring in another jar. Hold on. Okay, I'm bringing in this jar. So I have 1/2 gallon jars and 2 gallon jars, okay? So, to teach you how to make this, I'm going to get my seeded stuff real quick. Because the stuff is getting thick. I know you really can't see a lot, so let me move this. Okay, so this is my current ferment, okay guys? My current ferment. And this, I'm going to use this to seed my other ferment. So, I'm going to get my tablespoon. And I'm also going to, so now, this is a 24-hour ferment, plus you can leave it out indefinitely. I say it's 24 hours because you can do it as little as 24 hours or however long you want to do it. All right. So these are my empty jars. And I want to make this juicy. I really don't want to make this very thick at all because I don't want to have all this sludge that I have to then go and basically drink. Because this is what I end up with, is all the sludge, which is not bad. It's good. Well, not really, but it's just, it makes it harder to drink. Okay. So I'm going to take my current already ferment that's been fermenting for years, for months, and I'm going to pour it into my empty jars that I have. Now, if you're making a new ferment, you're not going to have this to seed it. That's fine. You'll just do the recipe the way it is, and I'll show you that in a minute. But since I already have these to seed, I'm just going to pour just like about maybe 1/4 cup. Doesn't have to be a lot. Just enough to give activity and start the fermentation process sooner. Okay, so I'm pouring my prior ferment. I'm gonna get my, since these are like rusting because of the salt, I've used them so many times. I put coffee filters. Okay, some people use plastic. Okay, you can do all that stuff, it's fine. But I'm gonna use coffee filters because it's easier, okay? And I just put it like on like this. See that? And then I'm not ready to really ferment this yet because I have to put in the ingredients. But here now it's ready for me to add in the 2 cups of cabbage, give or take loosely packed, 2 cups of water, and 1 tablespoon of pink Himalayan salt. It has to be pink Himalayan salt, okay? You can't use anything else. It must be pink Himalayan salt. All right, so, and you see how this cap is all rusted. So I'm gonna utilize the coffee filter or plastic. You guys use plastic, whatever it is that will help you, you know, because all these jars also are not super like airtight. So these little things kind of help it. All right. All right, and this one is not so bad, so I don't have to use the filters on this one. But I got to add in the ferment, right? This is the cedar. Okay. And then I'm going to utilize this jar again. Now I could potentially dump all this out and clean it and put in another one, but I'll just leave it. That's fine. Okay, so I'm going to put this to the side. And so what I'm doing, because I know predominantly how I want this to be. I want this to be really juicy. So I'll probably add maybe only this much cabbage. Like I cut it in slices. I didn't measure this to be 2 cups, but those of you guys, just do a loosely packed 2 cups. I mean, you can chop it up finely and whatever and then try to just measure it, but you don't really have to. I kind of know because I've been doing this for a while that I want it to be really juicy. And so I'll just take this, and this will be the new ferment. the new ingredients, and I'll just keep adding the 2 cups of water and the 1 tablespoon of salt and just utilize this for just this jar. So I still have the lactobacillus and the nutrients of the cabbage and kale here. Then I have the new cabbage here to add more nutrients, and all I'm doing is adding in the water and salt, and I'm pureeing it so that way it's all juicy so it becomes easier to drink, so it won't be so sludgy. Because some of you will do it and you'll have it'll be like sauerkraut to you. And I don't want you to have sauerkraut. It's supposed to be a cabbage, water, and salt drink. So this is my NutriBullet, or not NutriBullet, I'm sorry, this is my Vitamix. And I'm going to stick this in here. Hey, you're welcome, Ellie Mae. Then I'm going to stick it in here. Okay, and then I'm going to add in the 1 tablespoon of salt. So here is the tablespoon. And I'm going to add in the salt, and it could be a heaping or it could be level, and I'm going to pour it in here. Then I'm going to get 2 cups of water. So here's 2 cups of water. You're always going to have these to be the 2 cups of water and salt, always going to be the continuous, consistent ratio. You're always going to play with the cabbage and kale. So I'm going to use tap water because I understand, here's the thing. If you don't like the smell of chlorine, that's fine. The salt and the fermentation process and the minerals are going to offset the chlorine, okay? So I'm not even worried about the chlorine, chloramine, anything. It's all elements. And so the cabbage, water, and salt and the fermentation process, all of that will offset any elements. So you'll still get the fermentation process. So I add in the 2 cups, okay? And then I'm going to basically get another tablespoon of salt, add it in here, and then get another 2 cups of water. And so you keep filling up your Vitamix with the ratios of the 2 cups of water and the tablespoon of salt. And I'm only utilizing this much cabbage because I want it to be very, very juicy. I want this to be super juicy so that way I can just slam it. Okay? So I'm going to add in, so I already did that. I'm going to add in the salt now again. Now you guys can use distilled water, which you don't really need to. You can use filtered water. It doesn't matter. Elements and minerals are elements and minerals. It's not going to make a difference. Okay? All right, so this might be just enough. Now I'm going to put this on I'm going to puree it. Okay? So you'll hear it. Ew, hold on. Give me 1 second. I'm just washing this tap out. I have a few pieces. I have mice around here, so they like to get into everything. I'm living symbiotically with nature at this point. All right. So that goes on there. And you see it's pretty pureed and it's foamy. It's okay if it's foamy. Don't worry about it, okay? It's not a big deal. It's fine. So here it is. Yes, it's Himalayan salt. Yep, it's pink Himalayan salt. Always pink Himalayan. Never use anything but pink Himalayan salt. Okay, and then you pour it into your jar. And you see how pretty this purple hue is. Oh my God, it's so pretty. And so this just about almost filled it. So I'm going to add, yeah, so pretty. I'm going to add just a little bit more water and salt. Okay. All right. So I'm going to add a tablespoon of salt and 2 cups of water. And I might just add in a little bit more cabbage. Okay? So I might add in just like a little bit. Just a little bit of cabbage right there. And that's going to be enough to fill. And this should be fine. So I'm going to go and puree this Because you can always play with the cabbage and kale, okay? You can always play with the amounts on that, but you want it to be juicy. If you know how to make it juicy, you'll make it juicy. Alright. So, this should be enough to basically put out or fill up this 1/2 gallon. Yeah, that's just perfect. So yeah, it's a little foamy and that's okay. Foam is fine. You're gonna have little purple marks everywhere. Okay, and then and I have a locking mechanism, which is probably the best with the little grommets. And then I'm gonna leave this out and wipe off the sides because it does get messy. And just so you guys know, FYI, you need to always mix and stir if you're leaving it out indefinitely. If you see bugs and you see maggots growing on this or crawling around, it's because you have a leak and then you have bugs that are getting in and laying eggs. At some point, when you start seeing bugs flying around your stuff, you need to put it in the refrigerator, okay? Unless you have a very airtight jar. Some of your jars are not very airtight, and then little gnats and little bugs then lay eggs, and then you see worms crawling around. You don't want that to happen, okay? So make sure that if you're going to utilize jars, that they're totally airtight. Some of your jars out there are not very airtight. So I'm going to put this over on my table here, and I'll let that sit there for the time being. Okay, so now I have this jar. Okay, this jar I'm going to add in a bunch of cabbage. Okay, now I know I didn't measure it, but I kind of know what consistency I want. Really, what's going to be consistent is the 2 cups of water and a tablespoon of salt, and then you will figure out and play with the cabbage and the kale amounts, because some people are going to pack it tight, others are going to pack it light. It's so difficult, but what's always consistent is the tablespoon of salt and the 2 cups of water. And I'm using tap water, just so you guys know. Okay, so 2 cups of water. I pour it in here. 1 tablespoon of salt, and then of course you guys can always do the math and figure out how many cups of water to how many cups of salt, but I'm doing it one at a time so you guys can see. Okay, so that's for every 2 cups is 1 tablespoon of salt. So I'm doing more water. And then another tablespoon of salt. And then another tablespoon of salt. La, 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 la. It's not that difficult. You can do heaping tablespoons, or you can do level. It doesn't really matter because salt's not going to hurt you. No matter what people say, salt's not going to kill you. I'm not shoving salt down my throat. Then I'm going to add more water. And then 1 more tablespoon of salt. And then 1 more tablespoon of salt. All right, maybe okay, I'll just say it like that. And then I'm going to puree it. Okay? Puree. Here we go. And so when you guys puree, it breaks it down so that way it's easier for it to ferment. When you puree, it breaks it all down. So this is what it looks like. It's really foamy at the top. No big deal. It's not a big deal. Okay? And then you just pour it into your jar. And I have already a seed in there. I've seeded it with my prior ferment. And I'm just pouring it in the jar. I'm going to add, now I could just add salt and water and make it juicy, or I'm going to add just a little bit more cabbage. I'm going to add like some green. So I have some green right here that I can use. I had it frozen. So I'll put it in here just to kind of add different vitamins and nutrients. I don't have any kale, which is no big deal because, all right. Okay, I'm going to close this. All right, now I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of salt to every 2 cups of water. 1 tablespoon of salt. And I'm going to add in my 2 cups of water. Okay, this is what's going to basically revolutionize mankind, because we're breaking everything down to where you're able, when you're able to reverse the aging process. I have a prior ferment, Ellie Mae. I seeded it with my prior ferment that I've been using over and over again. Okay, so when I ferment this, it can be used as a seed. Because remember, it takes 3 days or indefinitely to ferment. Okay, so you always use your prior ferment to seed it, or you can just start a new one. It doesn't really matter. So 1 tablespoon of salt, and then 2 cups of water. And if you missed, or like if you mess up, don't worry about it. Just try to remember what you did and then correct it. Okay? So 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 cups of water. Because when you use a 24-hour ferment, or when you use a prior ferment, you like the taste of it. It's really, really, it tastes good. Because some ferments don't taste really good, so you don't want to use it as a seed. You want to start a new one. So, and it'll make it ferment faster. But if you're already going to have it wait like 3 or 4 weeks or 2 weeks, then it doesn't matter if you just start from scratch or you use a prior ferment. Okay? So I'm going to do it one more time. And then 2 cups of water. And that should be enough. This might be a little bit too much because I really got it to the top. Oh, it's not. Yeah, it's about the top. Okay. Alrighty. Now I'm going to go in and puree this, okay? Woohoo! And Kevin talked about using like Swiss chard or other types of the cruciferous types of leaves or vegetables out there to do the same thing, which is perfectly fine. So now it's how juicy the head on the top. You just pour it into your jar where you're going to ferment it. And you don't want to fill it up too high because you don't want it to overflow. You want to leave some room. And since I know it's so foamy, it's hard to gauge. But that's okay. So this is done. So now I'm going to leave this out for, I don't know, a couple weeks. Okay. And I'll put this over here where it needs to ferment. Okay. So now I have 2 more jars. And you see my prior ferment. You think it's like B cell. Here's the thing, Denise. You need to read my book. Because there is no way I could tell you, or if anybody says, oh yeah, I did, or oh yeah, I did, and it do it, you know, you got to read the book. You got to understand the protocol. You have to understand everything about that. Nutrition doesn't discriminate, and your diseases are not special. You're not that special. And so you tell us what it does for B-cell lymphoma. You tell us what it does for any missing organs, any missing limbs, because this is not poisonous. This is not anything to be afraid of. It doesn't matter. Your friend can ask, Denise. If your friend wants to know, your friend can ask, but then they shouldn't really ask. They need to get the book and read it for themselves. Because if you say, oh yeah, it does, and they do it and they don't understand it, you just now created a problem. Your friend needs to be the one to understand the protocol, get the book, then send me the receipt. Then they can ask certain questions like, hey, does my ferment look okay? Hey, I'm experiencing this healing symptom. What have you guys experienced? And then people will tell you, oh yeah, I've experienced this, I've experienced that. I have this, I have that. That's how it is that you get your friends to do this, is they actually take personal accountability, personal responsibility for their health. It's not up to you to convince them to do this. If you see value in this, you'll do it, and then you'll exemplify, and you'll be that example. And then you can talk about the protocol and how it's doing wonderful for you. And then maybe they should try it because you're doing it. But no, this is not a cure. This is not some remedy. This is not some detox. Okay. This is not anything you'll ever experience ever in your life. I don't care. This is corner the market. This is blowing the allopathic and the holistic world out of its world. It is not in the league of those. Jilly Juice is a league of its own. People have to actually read and understand this. You just can't say, oh yeah, it's going to do this for you. And blah, blah, blah. No, sorry. You tell us what it's doing for you. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. All right. So I'm going to pour this in this jar. And I'm going to hold on. Whew, okay. That's fun. I had to get rid of some antigen in my body. That's why you cover your mouth when you sneeze, because you might be releasing some bacteria. All right. So I'm going to put in my cabbage. So I'm not measuring the cabbage. I'm not measuring the 2 cups. You guys in the newbies, you'll measure it out. I know exactly what kind of consistency I want my stuff. So I'm just going to put in stuff, and then I will worry about how I want to deal with the ratios. Okay, so the 1 tablespoon of salt. All right, 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 cups of water, and then you keep repeating the process. Okay, you keep repeating the process. So then another tablespoon of salt. Because this is going to change humanity if people can handle the healing process. Okay? And I'll tell you what, it's not for everybody, because not everybody has the strength to heal. They would rather anesthetize themselves and do drugs and all that stuff. And that's not J-Juice. That's not the point of J-Juice, is to do drugs. We're not drug addicts. We're health addicts, okay? So here's 2 cups of water. And I'm using tap water because I'm not afraid of the tap water. All tap water is just elements. It's just minerals. Okay? It's just minerals, elements, and H2O. It has trace minerals and maybe some more than others. Don't worry about it, because when you actually drink the J juice, you're taking in minerals from the Himalayan salt. Okay? You're taking in the sodium, you're taking in the lactobacillus, you're taking in the micro and macronutrition from the cabbage and the kale. So you're going to have a biochemical process is going to happen. And chlorine and chloramine is going to be the least of your issues, because you'll be dealing with healing symptoms. And there's no way to say, oh yeah, my healing symptoms came from the chlorine. No, sorry, it doesn't work that way. You have you're over mineralized with so many virus programming that's causing your cancer, disease, and chronic illness, that there's no way you can isolate what exactly is causing your illness. Okay? So, all right. I'm just going to add in just a little extra salt, just in case I messed up. Even if you add a little extra salt, it's not going to hurt you. It's fine. Because salt's not going to kill you. You just offset it with water. And I'm going to add just a little bit more water, just in case. I'll use a half. Because even if I use heaping tablespoons of salt, not so much level, it's not going to hurt the ferment. It really isn't. Okay? So now I'm going to go put this in the blender. Okay. Here we go. Pureeing it. Okay, that overflowed just a tiny bit. Not a big deal. I have napkins. Whew. I definitely overfilled it. All right, here we go. Time to pour it into the jar. I think that's going to be just about enough. Now, it's not, now here's the thing, guys. If you already have ferments in there, like a seeded ferment, like this, most likely you're going to have a sinking of some of your, like this will sink to the bottom, and then your new cabbage that you just chopped up and everything is going to rise to the top. So you have like 3 layers. You'll have your stuff at the bottom, which is the old ferments, which is the fermented ferments that seeded your ferment to begin with. Then you have the water, and then you're going to have then the new cabbage and the kale that you just put in there that's going to rise to the top. And sometimes you may have to mix and stir, because when it rises to the top, and I'm going to add some more water to this, when it rises to the top, sometimes that exposed cabbage will then cause yeast or have a little bit of mold, which is no big deal. You can scrape it off or just mix and stir because it's not pathogenic, okay? The lactobacillus and the salt and the nutrients are going to kill anything pathogenic, all right? So I'm just going to add just a tiny bit. I'm going to add just 2 cups of water, just to fill up the jar just a little bit, or a cup of water. Maybe 2 cups, okay. And then a tablespoon of salt. Because I don't want too much air. Like you can see maybe right here. I don't want too much air in the top. I don't know if you can see that. Okay? Because I just want to have less air as possible. But I want to give it room to expand in case you guys did put a lot of stuff in it. All right. So, did I put in the salt? I don't think so. Now I got to put in the salt. Okay. All right. Whew. I'm forgetting where I was leaving off. My gosh. All right. Now I'm going to do this. Puree it. All right. So it's pretty much pureed. Like completely. Now I'm going to pour it into this jar, and this should be pretty much enough. Okay, so that's fine. So there is that. So another jar done. You'll have foam, no big deal. This is what it's going to look like. Now when you actually let it settle, I'll take a picture of it later when it settles, you'll see the separation. I'm going to put it to the side. Okay, next, I have one more jar, and you utilize all of the cabbage. So you see these cores? This core can be used, okay? You utilize all of the cabbage, all the kale, even the rind, like all the kale is used and all the cabbage is used. All right, so I'm going to cut up this core a little bit, not to overwork my blender. And, all right. And yeah, when you blend it, you get access. Ow! Fuck. You get access to the nutrients that are now bioavailable. Just simply chewing your food is great if you have a strong body to be able to break it down. But if your body is weak, there's no way you're going to get access to that nutrition. So it just goes right through you. And so the cabbage and kale will do really nothing for you at a deep level. So I still have cabbage left. And I usually will just take this and fry it up with some potatoes, and that would be like a meal. So I'll put this away. Okay. And then Kevin goes, more air means more yeast that will form on top, so go for less air in the jar. Absolutely. Thank you, Kevin. All right. All right. Very good. Okay, so I'm gonna put in the 1 tablespoon of salt. All right. And I'm gonna put in, so I have one more, ooh, okay, one more. So I guess I'm gonna make this really, I'm gonna blow my nose real quick. Hold on. Hi, sugar. Whew. All right. Whew. I don't know why my nose is running. All right. That's 1 tablespoon of salt. 2 cups of water. I'm using tap water, yes. I'm not worried about the chlorine or chloramine or anything. It's just part of water, whatever. And I'm going to add this. Add another tablespoon of salt. I didn't measure my cabbage and kale because I know what kind of consistency. I'm fine with it. And all that. So I'm adding more water. Okay, and this really is so easy and so simple. Okay, it really is. It really is so easy and so simple. Okay, so then I add in another tablespoon of salt. And you can make a heaping tablespoon. Okay. And then more water. All right, now I'm going to leave it like that. All right, now I'm going to go and do this. But just so you know, yeast is not bad, okay? Yeast is not really bad. You need yeast. It's when you have too much yeast, but then you have electrolytes, too much lactic acid, you have electrolytes. So electrolytes really offset everything. What yeast does, it changes the taste. That's what yeast really does. It really changes the taste. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to take this jar, bring it over here, and then pour it. I already seeded it with my old prior ferment. Okay. So I gotta do one more of these. Okay. Whew. All right. Smells wonderful. Okay, so now I'm going to put the rest of my cabbage. So I'm just dumping in the cabbage because I'm not measuring it. I already know what consistency I want. I already know how it's going to yield. When you do this enough, you already kind of know how you're going to manipulate the ratios. Hi, sugar. I see you. Hi, sugar. I see you. I know, sugar. All right. Okay. So now I'm going to add in, no sugar, lay down, sugar. All right. Add in the 1 tablespoon of salt. Okay. 2 cups of tap water or whatever water you want to use. Okay. And then more, 1 tablespoon of salt. One tablespoon of salt. 2 cups of water. I do it like each incrementally so I don't lose track. I mean, I could do all the math and then say, okay, for like 10 cups of water, how much, whatever, salt. I don't really feel like doing that. So I'm just going to do it this way. And then more salt. And then more water. Hold on, sugar. No, 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 sugar. All right. And then one more salt. Well, I'll do one more salt and then one more water. Every time I speak to you guys, my dog wants to then go outside. Sugar, no, we were just outside. No, go lay down. We were just outside, I know. Okay. So now I'm going to go put this in the blender. Okie dokie. All right. Jeez. I filled this up too much. Oh well. Oops. All right, hold on. All right, I will deal with it. All right, come on. So now, I just got to pour this into the jar. It gets foamy, yes. All right. That's how you, and then this is going to have, all right. So this really is going to be full almost to the top. Oh, that's okay. All right. Let's see. Yes, this foam. I'm just going to try to get this foam down. Because really I should just pour the rest of this in here. Alright, that should be okay. The foam is, I'll get you, sugar, don't worry. Hold on. And then, the foam is not going to hurt anything. It can be quite annoying, but whatever. Alright, so I soaked up the foam with this. It's okay. You guys can speculate what the foam is. Not a big deal. It's probably the salt and something else. You know, so we get another. Oh, here we go. Okay. All right. So there. Since this is a rusting lid, I'm putting a. You can use plastic too, but here is the coffee filter. And then I'm going to put this on. It makes it easier to come off. And then I'm going to put this over in my area. Okay, so I'm going to be basically fermenting it for 3 days indefinitely, okay? And when you start seeing bugs fly around, you guys, you need to stick it in the fridge. Unless it, well, yeah, if you have bugs flying around your ferments, it's because you have, you don't have a good seal, and the bugs are attracted to it. Because remember, bugs are attracted to lactic acid. Bugs, pestilence likes lactic acid. So I'm thinking like, why are bugs attracted to this? Because it's supposed to kill bugs, but it does. But they're attracted to lactic acid. But then what it is when they actually get into the ferment, the salt will kill them. Okay? Because you know you put salt on slugs and insects, they dissolve for the most part. Okay, so if you have a good seal, then it's not going to smell. You can leave it out forever and it won't matter. But if you have a really crappy seal, and then you have bugs laying eggs, and then you have maggots crawling around in your ferment, that's not a good thing. Throw the whole thing away. If you start seeing bugs crawling in your ferments because you don't have a good seal and you had bugs flying around that are laying eggs, not a good thing. When you are, after 3 days, and you start, you know, and you're opening it up, because you don't want to mix and stir all the time. You only want to mix and stir maybe after 3 days, just to make sure that anything that rises to the top, that you maybe want to scrape off any excess yeast at the top or mold. You mix and stir, make sure everything is below the brine, okay? So on the top, you scrape it off. Below the brine, everything is fine. You'll see lactobacillus strains. I mean, you'll see colony-forming units, especially if you're leaving it out indefinitely. But even if you leave it in the refrigerator, it's still going to ferment. It just ferments slower, okay? So if you leave it out in a hot climate, it's going to ferment faster. It'll be stinky too. So some of you are going to be very, very sensitive to the smell because this is your first time. This is new. And then, of course, everybody around you that's not doing it are going to be like totally turned off by it. Okay? I mean, I smell it on my dog's breath because I give her cotton balls of it every so often. And I still smell it on her breath even when I don't give it to her. So her system is pretty well balanced. Oh, and by the way, I did get one mosquito bite yesterday. And it only raised up a tiny bit. So, and I put some of the juice on it, totally disappeared. So I got an injection of some kind of data that my body will work with. So sometimes, and this is my only mosquito bite of the season, just so you know, out of this whole summer, and we're in August, like something middle of August, one mosquito bite. And I've been outside hanging out at dusk and at dawn. And, oh, I got hair. And I have not been bitten except for when I was outside yesterday and it was really, really wet and humid. Okay, so that's why bugs get attracted to the ferments, because they're attracted to the lactic acid. But what the J juice is electrolytes that offset the lactic acid overabundance. And then you need to have lactobacillus, lactic acid in your body. You need to have the electrolytes. You need to have the trace minerals. You need to have the micro and macro nutrition. And this is what's going to then address all of your different cancer, disease, and chronic illness. So it doesn't always smell good or taste good. It's not supposed to. This is not a sugary type of drink. So no, you're not going to be enjoying this until you actually understand the properties and the benefits of this. And so I'm going to drink this right now to show you that, yes, it's not totally easy, but it's not totally difficult either. Okay? And this is the sludge that was left behind that I used to seed my ferments that I just made. Okay? And this is what's going to change humanity, guys. This really is. It's going to change everything, but you have to deal with the healing process. And you can schedule all of your waterfalls. You can schedule your healing properties or your healing symptoms anytime you need to. But you just have to set the time aside. Okay? So here we go. No, it doesn't taste really great. That's okay. Also, too, when you get thirsty, you drink water. Okay? Yeah, it smells like ass because it's a little bit of methane because it's waste material. There's a lot of different minerals and bacteria. Well, it's definitely lactobacillus, but a lot of different properties, a lot of different stuff in this. When you're getting the micro and macro nutrition, you're getting the trace minerals your body needs, you're getting the lactobacillus, lactic acid, and you're getting the salt, of course. So this is your one size fits all type of thing. And then you have the diet. And the diet really has you understand what is antibiotic and what is, well, obviously what probiotic is, but then also too, why it is that the diet is the way it is. So that way you're not undermining, hey Janie, the process by seasoning your food with jalapenos and turmeric and garlic. When you think about it, I'm going to show you something real quick. The pepper, the cinnamon, lemon pepper, crushed pepper. Oh God, here we go. Hold on. The ginger and the turmeric. I'm going to show you all this. All of these are antibiotic. I'll tell you why. Because they use them in the holistic industry to stop the healing process. Okay? So ginger is very pungent. When you use a little bit, like when you're pretty well balanced and you're basically reversing all your issues, you can utilize any of these because these are all heavy metals. It's trace minerals. That's all these are, is trace minerals. But if you are utilizing so much of this with your intention to detox, okay, now you've actually stopped the healing process. You've ruined your gut when you're utilizing turmeric. People use like turmeric and honey. Okay? No. Honey is antibiotic and the sugar feeds candida. Turmeric is so antibiotic. The intention is to stop the healing process. No, turmeric is a no-no. Ginger is a no-no on the Jilly Juice protocol. Cinnamon is a no-no. People go overboard with the spices because they think they're detoxing and they're stopping the symptoms. We're not trying to do that. Crushed red pepper, hell no. Okay, these are all antibiotic because the intention is to stop the healing process. Black pepper is an antibiotic. Okay, lemons and limes, antibiotics, not on the protocol. Lemon and pepper. Yeah, they taste great, but here's the thing. When you're on the Jilly Juice protocol, until you reverse all of your issues 100%, and you are so well balanced where you're not overly empathetic or so full of adrenaline that you want to fight everybody and basically troll everybody, then you can start adding in and reintroducing foods to your diet. But until you reverse the aging process for the most part, until you reverse all of your issues, not just a few, because some of you are still doing a lot of your drugs, okay? Until you've gotten off of all of your drugs that you utilize just to relax after work or whatever, you need to lay off all of this stuff. You need to actually hit Jilly Juice harder. You need to stay on the diet, stop drinking alcohol, and actually take this serious, or you're not going to see the next level of healing. You'll be stuck at an impasse because there's different levels of healing. Some of you will only, let's say there's like 10 levels of healing. Some of you who are still trying to implement your life are going to get to only level 5, and that's where you're going to stay. And then I don't know how aggressive the universe is going to be, where they're going to then redouble its efforts, and then your 2 cups a day or whatever you're doing is not going to be enough. You're going to have to then up your dosages, but if that's not what you want to do, you're not going to make it. Okay? So some of you will only reach level 5 because that's only what you want to do on a daily basis. You're so busy that you don't make room and make time for your healing process. Now, I don't care if you do waterfalls every day. That doesn't make sense. If it's just doing waterfalls every day, but you're only doing 2 cups a day, but you're not really seeing major healing. Okay? You have to really look at the past, present, and future and be honest with yourself. Okay? Because at some point, you're not going to want to be doing your drugs. At some point, you're not going to want to drink a bunch of alcohol. At some point, you're not going to be overly empathetic, where that's all you're coming from is empathy, or you're always coming from a fight or flight. You'll be so well balanced that you'll understand where I'm coming from when it comes to living in love and hate. Okay? So really, truly understand the whole point of J-Juice is there's a specific blueprint. Okay? It's a consistent blueprint, a universal blueprint for all humans, because we're all the same. There's nothing different about us. And so if you want to schedule your waterfalls, let's say for like 5 days, you do 2 cups a day, you get waterfalls, great. You have all your healing symptoms. And let's say you had headaches or you had other stuff. And then now you're like, okay, I've plateaued. And then you're going to double it. Now, instead of doing 2 cups a day, you'll do 2 cups a day. Then maybe like, a couple times a week, you'll do like 3 or 4 or 6 cups. Like you up the dosage every couple days. And then you get another level of healing. Okay? And then you'll experience that, you'll plateau, and then you'll get to the next, and you'll start seeing your body change. Some of you have so many issues, you have like 10 issues. So you have to go through the 10 layers of healing. But you could have 20 or 30 issues that you don't even know about. But at least the 10 issues that you know about, you want to be able to deal with those 10 issues. So if you're not looking like you're 20 and you're like 50, if you're not looking like, if you're 70, you don't look like you're 30, then you have a long way to go. If you're still experiencing all of your different cancer, disease, and chronic illness, then you have a long way to go. You should not be reintroducing foods back in your diet, living as if you basically have conquered the protocol. No, you haven't. Because you still want to be busy. You still want to have your life. And then try to fit this in, which I understand. But you have to make room for the protocol. You have to start getting those specific measurable results. You really, really do. It is so imperative for some of you to really, truly be serious about this. Okay? Because look at the viruses, all the different activity that's out there with the wars and the biological and psychological warfare out there. You guys, if you're not strengthening your body on a daily basis, weekly basis, you're going to succumb. And then guess what? You're going to go down that death trajectory faster and faster. And you're seeing it in your friends. You see it in your friends and your family. They are triggering the aggressive decline earlier and earlier, okay? So it's very important that you guys exemplify really doing the protocol if you're super serious.